This is a slideshow about Shudderwock. Shudderwock is arguably, and funnily enough, called the worst minion in Shudderwock Shaman. Of course, that sounds counterintuitive, but it's really funny to think about how a lot of times Shudderwock Shaman over the years has been better based on the cards in the deck rather than Shudderwock just ending the game. It's really funny to think about because the ironic part is it's called Shudderwock Shaman. For a long time, actually, Shudderwock Shaman was dominated by its Murloc package, where you had 4 mana Scargill and 2 mana Firemancer Flurgle. A lot of times, you would lose the game because your opponent would build a gigantic board of Murlocs, eat your hand, clear your board, and they would draw multiple cards during that turn, thinning their deck. It would get you very close to your Shudderwock, and of course, because of Mutanus, it would make your following turns better if you had things like Parrot or Shudderwock, as well as if you had Cold Storage, since returning Mutanus to your hand would still make it cost 1 with Scargill. This was then, of course, nerfed in the same patch. Scargill went to 5 mana, and Firemancer Flurgle went to 4 mana. You no longer see these cards very often together anymore, but you still see Flurgle usually in Shudderwock Shaman. Astalor, yippee! Astalor is actually the first real good win condition that Shudderwock Shaman had. You would obviously go to Astalor 8, you would play it, and then you would repeat that effect with your Shudderwock. Usually you would only need to do it once, maybe twice, to kill your opponent, and it just dealt a lot of damage, so that's why Shudderwock was very good in that deck with Astalor. There is a long-standing thought process of going infinite with Shudderwock, where you would summon copies of your Shudderwock and then bounce it with Grumble, or with Zola, or Cold Storage. Usually it's not actually that good. For a while, you would run Serenade Chain Gang, and it wasn't really that great, but then Thin Twin came out and slotted perfectly in the Murloc package. It has the same battle cry, it's good as a removal unit, and of course it's a Murloc. Grumble, of course, still sees play in a lot of Shudderwock decks, because sometimes you still want to bounce your Shudderwock, but overall, it's not actually that useful or necessary if you actually want to play the deck. You do not have to run Grumble. Now, Hostage Walk is something that people have been talking about for a long time. There used to be, you could still block your opponent out of the game with Shudderwock by freezing their board and gaining infinite armor, maybe playing Lotheb and Boom Pistol Bully, which we'll talk about later, but nowadays, it's actually kind of realistic. The fact that Reno Lone Ranger locks your opponent out of building a board really lets you set up and build your own giant board. Of course, you can repeat Reno Lone Ranger with Shudderwock, as well as Boom Pistol Bully and Lotheb. These are the best cards for the deck, usually, because it makes it so your opponent can't do anything once you build a big board. Copying your Shudderwock, it doesn't really matter anymore, but summoning multiple copies of your Shudderwock is still very powerful, because you just summon a large board, deal some damage, and you lock your opponent out of playing the game with Bully, Lotheb, and Reno. Now, the thing about Shudderwock is it's kind of a degenerate playstyle. It is something that you build towards very efficiently with the fact that you can run Highlander cards in your deck and it not really be a detriment to you. It's very, very powerful, and sometimes it is toxic for the game. That is admittedly true. Usually when Shudderwock is powerful, the game does feel worse for a lot of players because it snuffs aggro pretty efficiently, and it just goes insane into the late game. That being said, Shudderwock is a very fun card that a lot of people have loved and still love over the years. I understand that Shudderwock is the way that it will be and will not be changed, and honestly, I think that's fine. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.
Alright, repeat after me.
Subscribe.
After me. Repeat after me.
Subscribe.
After me.